Welcome, everyone. Welcome to this edition of Behind the Scenes. It's a slightly unusual setup this time because normally you would hear Priyanka's voice right at the start. But this time, well, there's a male host. Why is that the case? Well, I don't know. Let's find out. On the other side of the seat today is Priyanka, and joining her beloved husband, Karthik. Welcome,
Thank
both
you.
of you. So, for those of you who live under a rock and don't know this power couple, let's have a brief round of introductions. Tell us a little bit about yourselves. Let's start with Karthik this time.
Okay, I'm Karthik. I live in Bangalore. I'm 38 years old, and right now I live right next to the place where I sort of grew up. So I keep going to everywhere in the world and returning to Bangalore, and nowadays dragging Priyanka back from wherever she goes. So, and we live with our 5-year-old daughter Abhi.
Awesome. So Abheri also goes by Berry. That's a cute name. So all of you, if you ever get a chance to meet Abheri, you can also call her Berry. Okay, with that trivia aside, Priyanka, over to you. Tell us a little bit about you.
Hi, I'm Priyanka. I'm also born and brought up in Bangalore, but I come from the other part of town. I grew up in North Bangalore, and Karthik grew up in South Bangalore. About us, we are both very big fans of certain Kannada movies from the 90s, which pretty much summarize everything in our lives, and we kind of relate to those things, and that's what we share as a couple.
Not certain Kannada movies, one Kannada movie, Ganeshan Madhve.
Which one is that?
Ganeshan Madhve.
Okay.
Yeah, so
90s kids won't know about it, so.
Yeah.
But is it safe to say we have 3 Bangalore lovers on the call?
Yes.
Yeah.
All of us
Yeah.
have an undying love affair with the city.
Yes.
Fair?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a slightly weird question now. I know there is the South Bombay, North Bombay divide. There is a South Delhi, North Delhi divide. But is there such a divide in Bengaluru city?
I think so. In fact, I'm probably going to add links to 2 videos made by friends of ours. These videos are about how when a North Bangalorean goes to South Bangalore, how he's treated, and when South Bangaloreans go to North Bangalore, how they're treated. It's basically a parody, but it's quite funny. I think there is a divide. I think there is a slight cultural nuance.
Yeah, like
in terms of,
10, 11, 12 years back, I used to tell people I'm in a long distance relationship. My girlfriend is from North Bangalore, I'm from South Bangalore, and we are 160 rupees by auto away.
That is so cute. How long have both of you been married for, and when was the first time you met, and how did you all meet?
Okay, so it's a very complicated answer. The simple answer is we've been married for 10 years and a bit. We got married in November 2010. That's fact. How long we have known each other? There are like several answers. So we first corresponded in June 2006 when she scrapped me on Orkut. After having come across my blog on LiveJournal. So, LiveJournal still exists, though it's mostly taken over by Russian bots, but Orkut, as everybody knows, is like no more. So
I'm sure he doesn't even know what Orkut is.
So I have heard about Orkut when I was in 5th standard, and then it suddenly ceased to exist for some reason.
Right.
Okay, we are dealing with the generation gap here. But yeah, so we had our first correspondence in 2006. And then...
When you say correspondence, what do you mean? What do you mean when you say correspondence?
A pair of scraps on Orkut.
As in, basically, it was a message from me saying, "Hey, I found your blog so interesting. It inspired me to start a blog too." And I think he said something to the effect of, "Great, good luck, have a nice life," kind of thing.
I was like, okay, cute kid wants to start blogging because she sees my blog, so I need to be encouraging. So
he was responding to me like he would to an average fan or whatever. So.
Okay, by the sound of it, it does not sound like a very enviable beginning. Let's explore a little bit more in detail there. But I hope all you 20-year-olds and late 20-year-olds figured out what correspondence and what Orkut meant. To that explanation. Okay, so After Orkut, how did things materialize? After having that formal first conversation where you wished Priyanka luck with her blog, what happened next?
We decided to have a nice life by ourselves for the next year and a half, and we didn't see each other. But then, like, she messaged me. This is the first contact after 1.5 years. It's like we had initial contact. It's like you're coming across some remote tribe, right? You have some initial contact, and then you lose sight of each other. A year and a half later, she pings me again with some sort of a puzzle on Orkut, like trying to make me find her blog or something like that. And
that is the equivalent of sliding into someone's DMs today.
Exactly. So I have to add my bit of the story here. So it had been a year and a half since I started my blog, and I had written a little bit. And I think I was looking for some sort of validation because I'd started my blog based on this guy's blog, and I was looking for him to kind of say, okay, good, you're writing well, or like, something, right? Like, so that's why I think I reached out to him. But I also reached out to him because I saw him in the Landmark finals, and one of my friends who came along with me there, funnily enough, my ex-boyfriend, told me about him. He told me about him, and he said, "Oh, this is the guy who got 100 percentile in CAT like a couple of years ago." And I was like, "Oh, wow!" And just that was the time when I just I was I researching CAT classes or something like that because I was planning to write CAT. And so I was like quite impressed, and validation from him for my blog meant a lot suddenly. So I think I reached out to him.
Yeah, and I remember she set this puzzle and I cracked it. I didn't crack it, but I actually remembered her from a year and a half back. And then I went to her blog, found the latest blog post, which later on turns out she had written specifically to catch my attention. And I wrote a comment on that blog that if it were to be put on Twitter today, both of us would get like massively roasted by half of Twitter. So, and then something to...
Come on, it was like keeping like a bonda for Ili. I had to write a blog post like that.
Yeah, and I came and I ate the bonda and I went. And then anyway, so we started chatting. One chat on Yahoo Messenger. UX of Yahoo Messenger sucked, so I told her to move to Google Doc. And then my initial impression was that she wants cat gyani.
Okay. He thought I was looking for free cat coaching, so which is why he was like throwing attitude, and he was like, just
was it a bad idea to get cat coaching from somebody who got 100 percentile?
Yeah,
that could have been a hidden agenda.
Yeah, it really wasn't. It was more like, I think I really liked the way he wrote. And I found it very refreshing that he was so honest about how he felt or how he thought. And I just wanted to have a conversation with him because of that.
Okay, so you had that conversation. That conversation led you to meeting for the first time. And I know we're skipping a lot of...
100 such conversations.
Yeah, maybe not even 100, more than that. So 2 years after we first started talking was when he finally one day said, "Hey, let's meet." I'll continue the story now. So he said, "Yeah, let's meet." And I wasn't too keen on meeting because I was quite happy with our relationship online. Relationship as in, friendship.
Got it.
Or whatever this thing was. This random guy would be online and I was the random girl who would be online, and we'd just ping each other and chat. Mm-hmm. So I was not very keen on meeting him because I felt like our relationship would change after having known each other online for so long. So I reluctantly sort of met him, and it so happened that he was going through the arranged marriage process at that point of time, and he was meeting a lot of women. I don't know what he felt because of our meeting. I think he felt very comfortable, and it was quite comfortable for me as well. I quite liked the meeting. So I think he kind of said something to the effect of, "Yes, okay, my search is done. I've lost my heart for this one," kind of thing.
I wrote a blog post.
Yeah, he wrote a blog post. So,
did you read it immediately? Did you read it the moment he wrote it?
I think so. I used to follow his blog, so I think so.
Okay.
But it so happened that even at my house, my parents were very excited at the prospect of me meeting this guy, and I was telling you about it, right? My dad, as soon as I came back that day, he was like, "Oh, so how did you feel?" I was like, what do you mean? How do you feel? Like, how did you feel? Like, I just went and met some random friend and came. Like, why are you talking to me like this? So, yeah, so things really escalated after that. And basically, he and my parents wanted us to get married.
See, I was in the arranged marriage market. Okay.
Right.
By the time I finally met her, I was in the arranged marriage market to the extent that there were times before when I would be chatting with other arranged marriage tarkaris, as we would come to call it, on Google Chat. I am chatting with Priyanka on the side to kind of like and keep giving her running commentary on, okay, we are talking about this, we are talking about that, and so on. And she was very excited about it. So she was always very, very excited about this arranged marriage business. So which is why she's made it a business now. So I was in that mood. So the moment I met her, we met in Gandhi Bazaar. We went on a beat from 3 hours. We just kept walking all around Baswantpuri. And I was like, okay, this is it. I mean, I don't know what she thinks, but I really like her and I'm going to make it work. I mean,
Yeah.
So beat is also something I found out about recently from Priyanka only. So
Yeah.
so we met recently and she said, do you want to go grab coffee or do you want to go for a beat? And I was like, I don't dance. What is younger millennials, put beat means put step haku bro. That's exactly what it means to us. But beat
Yeah.
means walk was a revelation to me.
Yeah. It's to explore an area.
it's like
Beat
the
hakadu.
constable goes on a beat in the night, right, of this area. So that's the etymology of beat in this context.
So for all of you listening who've never used beat in this context before, please make it a thing again.
Anyway, yeah. So that's how we met and decided to get married and so on.
So you met in Gandhi Bazaar, you put beat, and what was the first impression? What did you like about each other? I'm going to ask Priyanka first because we obviously by now have figured it out that Karthik was full flat after the first time you met her, right? So Priyanka, what was the first thing you liked or what was the first thing you thought when you met Karthik? Did something change?
No, I think nothing changed. I think that was the best part. Like, I think the transition between knowing someone virtually to knowing them face to face can sometimes be difficult, and it was really seamless in this case. It didn't feel like I was talking to someone else. He didn't feel like another person. It was as if we were just chatting on G-Talk. And I think even the setting really helped, where we were not really sitting and looking at each other awkwardly at a coffee shop. We were just walking around, looking at random things here and there, commenting about it, just like how we would normally talk. So I think the highlight for me was it was very comfortable. He seemed like a really nice and well-mannered, polite guy. And what I liked about him was that he was really kind of looking out for me on the road, where whenever there was like a pothole or like something, he'd be like on the side and things like that. And I was very touched by it. Now, having been married to him for a few years, I know it was bloody anxiety, and it was not. But, I was 22, so I was naive. I didn't know anything. So I was like, oh, he's so caring.
This is probably a good time to ask what your age gap is between the two of you.
4.5 years.
4.5 years.
4.5 years. Okay, so you were 26, 27 sort of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'll come to Karthik. Same question to you. What were the immediate things you observed in a positive sense that completely, took you by surprise?
So first of all, I must tell you this. I mean, when she had agreed to meet me, I was like, okay, here's a girl who seems to look reasonably cute. She has agreed to meet me. What's wrong with her?
Okay. Reasonably cute. Okay. Controversy.
I mean, this is basically an Orkut photo. Orkut photo is reasonably cute. Okay. So I'm walking from home to Gandhi Bazaar and like trying to wonder what's it, why is she meeting, because I was like sort of full of love failures until that point in time in life. Like nothing had ever worked out for me. So I was like, okay, what's it? And then I saw her, we had agreed to meet in front of Vidyarthi Bhavan. And I was in front of Vidyarthi Bhavan, she was on the other side of the road, and I saw her sort of crossing the road, and I was like, okay, she does look really cute. She walks in a cute way. And for whatever reason, I decided to kind of give her a hug, and she found it really, really creepy. But really creeped out.
I did get creeped out, but I don't think I was that expressive about it. Like, I wouldn't go hug somebody if I've never met them before. Like, unless, I don't know, like, I think it wasn't really the fact that you hugged. I think it was the way you hugged.
I still don't know how to hug. So.
Yeah.
There's no controversy here, folks listening. Problem with the way Karthik hugs. You did meet that day and things were great. You all had a great impression after you had met each other. Now it's easy, right? These days in 2021, with the advent of dating apps and everybody having tried these dating apps out at least once in their lifetimes, know what is expected. But back in the day when this wasn't a thing, this wasn't popular, like when you left your house or took that auto rickshaw to go to Gandhi Bazaar, what was running through your mind about what was going to happen?
Nothing, because we were not going to meet as, it wasn't a date at all.
It was just somebody we are having fun. We are having fun together online. It would be good to meet.
Yeah, I've known you online for a while, so let's meet. There was absolutely
no stress,
romantic.
no tension.
There was no romantic, nothing. Like absolutely none.
Wow, that's remarkable.
I mean, he could have very well been my Rakhi brother by the end of that evening. Like there was really no agenda there.
So listen to the number of numerous possibilities they started off with, folks listening. So kuch bhi ho sakta hai zindagi mein. Now, I mean, 10, 11 years later, what are the things you like about each other now?
Okay. So the thing that I like the most about Karthik is every morning when I wake up, he brings me a cup of coffee. Like that's just the first thing that he does. And like he does it every day without fail. And like that's my favorite part of Karthik. That happens without much discussion. There's like no negotiation in it. It just happens. So yeah.
Now I know why this is the case. Because we spoke in brief about Karthik's love for coffee and the process of making coffee.
No. So the coffee I make for her first thing in the morning has nothing to do with the process of making coffee. That's her second cup of coffee in the day. The first cup of coffee is the traditional South Indian milk and sugar coffee. So I've been making it for her right from the time we got married. Every single day when we are together. I mean, we were long distance for a couple of years in the middle. So that apart, I've been making it for her every single day.
Yeah, that's my favorite part about Karthik. I mean, like the trivial things that I like about Karthik, that's that for sure. Yeah.
Does he make good coffee or did you have to get used to it?
No, he makes really good coffee.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I don't think I can make that. I don't think I can make coffee like that either. So yeah, he makes good coffee.
Okay, now it's Karthik's turn. What do you like about Priyanka 11 years down the line?
For the most part, she is exactly what she was like 12 years back. Okay. She's not changed at all. And she's very caring. I remember still very much in the early days, whenever I would call her, she would be like, have you eaten? What did you eat? That would be her first question, irrespective of when I called. So I found her caring. And I still find her to be caring. Like, for example, down to the level of like, today I was like doing some work and she just came from behind and just gave me a little hug. It's the same. Nothing is, yes, we have a 5-year-old now. We have been through a lot in the last 12 years. But I think she hasn't changed at all. She's still the same person. She's still the same sort of simple, fun-loving person that she used to be. That's something I really, really like about her.
That's great. In fact, one of the videos we reviewed together, Priyanka and I, was by a stand-up comedian called Daniel Sloss. And in that, he says, a relationship, a friendship, anything, it should be as easy as breathing. And I think what you just said reflects that. It's been an easy, I wouldn't say easy journey, but it's been great, most part of it.
A lot of days are nice and a lot of days are not nice either.
That's in fact my next question to all of you. Now, I don't know if you're cricket fans. Are you by any chance?
I am. She's not.
Yeah, I'm not.
I'm going to be the equivalent of a Harsha Bhogle and ask you for a pitch report. But instead of pitch report, we will talk about your 11 years of marriage.
Sure.
Okay, let's begin with Karthik since it's a cricket analogy. So talk to us about your 11, 12 years of marriage. How has it been so far? If you were to Describe your entire journey to me.
Okay. First 3 months were very great. I used to, she used to-
3 months.
yeah, she used to get out of home at 7, come back at 7. I would get out of home by 9, come back by 9. So I would make breakfast for her in the morning, and then like we would both have lunch at work, and she would come back home and make dinner for me in the night time. So it was great. And then I think like things started, like I was getting sort of burnt out in my then job, and I decided that okay, I probably want to quit and do my own thing and so on. And I think after that, it was so I'm grateful to her for allowing me to do my own thing. I mean, I had to slightly fight my way to do it, but I'm, with the benefit of hindsight, really grateful to her for having allowed me to sort of explore my passion, explore my desire to lead a sort of a portfolio life and do several random things through my uh, very late 20s and most of my 30s. So I'm very grateful to her for that. We did have a few moments here and there where she would be like, okay, now you need to get a job, now you need to get a job. But like, yeah, I sort of conveniently ignored her or made attempts at it without really making an attempt until I really felt like I need to get a job. And now that I've got a job, I think our relationship is great. And like, I mean, we have a child now, but we have a child, we work from home, but it's sort of back to the first 3 months of marriage.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Got it. And Priyanka, what about you? Do you agree with the ups and downs there, or do you have a different set of ups and downs?
Gosh, I feel like I can't like come back and say, okay, the first 3 months of marriage feels like some other century.
It was 2010-11. So.
No, so I mean, rather I think of it like this, and this is something another guest on Behind the Scenes was talking about, right? I think of a marriage as periods of transitions and how we coped or did not cope with those transitions, and periods of steady state. So I think for me, what I think back to are these moments of transitions when there were life changes. Like, for instance, like you were saying, when he quit his job and sat at home for a few months, or let's say when we moved houses, or when I moved to Barcelona, or like got a job and things like that. Those are moments where I feel like it took us some time to get used to everything that was happening. And that apart, I think it's been a good mix of ups and downs. I think the highs are really high, and the lows we've over a period of time now sort of conquered, in the sense that we know how to manage situations better than we used to in the beginning. In the beginning, I think it used to be kind of violent in the sense that everything would feel like, oh my God, is this the end of the world? Is this like, that's it, right? Now it's a bit more like, okay, let's take some time. Let's sort this out. Let's discuss this. Both of us can actually calmly sit down and discuss things. Back in the day, it would take us at least 2-3 days to get to a calmer spot to talk things out.
Okay. In fact, if we talk about chaos, so for people trying to build their own portfolio, and both of you have done that for a long period of time. Karthik, you're back at working a job right now, but there was a long phase in your life where you were building your own portfolio. There tends to be a lot of chaos, right? So how do you as a couple deal with chaos? How did you get to your perfect?
Okay, I'll tell you how we deal with chaos. I will tell you what exactly was going in my mind when you were asking that question. I almost missed as a couple, and I thought, while you were telling the question, I thought your question was going to be, how do you deal with chaos? Because the way I deal with chaos is very different from the way she deals with chaos. And because this frequency or wavelength or speed or whatever you call it doesn't match, we go out of sync. Every time there's chaos, usually what happens is that like I get massively flustered in the beginning, and then quickly snap and get adjusted to the new reality. She kind of
I have a process. Sure. I need some time to think about it, to make peace with it, and then settle into a new environment. And he doesn't have the patience to give me that time for anything. He wants us to do things together, and I want us to like do things slowly. And I think that's where we sometimes have a bit of mismatch. I mean, just to give a very simple example, right? when something goes wrong or when there's stress or anything, he likes to come and get a hug, or he wants to just hold and sit down. I don't want to be touched by anyone. I just want to be left alone.
So we get deadlocked if you think about it. So it might be something small. It slightly blows up. Now I need a hug from her. From my daughter doesn't suffice. I need a hug from her to calm down. She needs to be left alone to calm down. So how do you resolve this? It's an impossible situation.
Yeah.
Oh, it's impossible. Okay.
It's an impossible situation.
No, I do think we alternate in terms of giving up and saying, okay, fine, you have it your way. I'll come back and get a hug later. He'll say sometimes. Or I'll be like, okay, screw it, just hug now. I'll deal with my nonsense later. So, yeah.
But the good thing is now, over the last 1 year or so, we have just realized that we get caught in this cycle and one of us needs to break it. Until then, I think we hadn't really realized that this is where, because we would analyze why we would fight. And the starting reasons would be very, very different and there was no pattern. But the pattern is this. We get caught in this deadlock and trying to get out of the deadlock, we just mess it up even further for both of us.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of fights, what are the things that you mostly disagree about? Now, it needn't just be your process about the way you approach things, but what are even the petty fights that you have?
There are no good reasons for what we fight about. We can fight about anything and everything, and most of the time it's like super trivial. Like if we like
as an example.
Okay.
Something from today, I'm guessing.
What from today? I don't know. No, like one fight I
like that there is an episode from today.
No, because the funny thing is, what he thinks of as a fight and what I think of as a fight are very different. For me, it has to be a really crazy, insane fight for me to call it a fight. It has to last a few hours for me to say, oh, that's a fight. But if I just scream at him for like 2 seconds, for me, that's not a fight.
Oh, that disturbs my mental peace. It is a fight. And the moment my mental peace is disturbed, it's gone. The rest of the day is ruined. So, for example, I'll give you an example. So, this was something we fought about a lot through 2020, through the first phase of the lockdown and with the schools shutting down and all that. She was on a call. She was supposed to finish at 11 o'clock. I was waiting to go in. Until 11:30, she didn't come out.
Okay.
She came out and then I was like, what took you so long? And she got angry. And we got into our deadlock. It's
Yeah. There's usually no good reasons at all. It'd be like random. And I think most of the times it's because of our own individual moods that we're in that causes these things. If one of us is not in a good mood, then you end up feeling attacked or you end up feeling like cornered, and that it's that.
I realize that mindset, like you just said, when you're not in a good frame of mind, you take things to heart very easily. Who's more consistent among the two of you in terms of a Zen state, in terms of retaining the same frame of mind for a very long period of time?
Okay, I am consistent, but not in the Zen state. Not in the Zen state. I'm consistently chaotic. I've mastered chaos.
Yeah. No, okay. I think having been with him, for me, I think I am somebody who's very, in general, extremely peaceful. I have not been someone who's ever raised my voice. No one's ever raised their voice at me. I've never gone into a fight. Very peaceful as a person. But after getting married to him, he keeps having these violent outbursts about random things. He'll get irritated about something. I feel like over time, I've built that tolerance. And when he screams now, I can stand and watch and wait for him to cool down. It doesn't bother me. Earlier, I used to feel scared. I used to be like, oh my God, what's happening? Why is he screaming? What should we do now? Kind of thing. Now it's like, okay, he's having one of these.
That's my ground state.
Yeah, exactly. So
it happens once in a while. Accept it and move on.
Yeah. No, but of course, I think when you're newly married, it's difficult to deal with if you come from a different environment.
So talk to us about the first time either of you thought that the other person had lost their bearings.
It's funny.
Is there any incident you remember?
Funny you say that. I don't think he had lost his bearings. I just didn't know he didn't have bearings. I thought he had lost his bearings, but in reality, he didn't have any. Shit, I can't remember. We had so many of those.
Yes. It just keeps happening. I mean, I don't think any of them is in any of our fights. I don't think the core reason for fighting is
it's
important
never,
at all.
It's never been so important for us to remember,
All the big decisions in life we very easily agree on, and we are like we go through it together and things like that. It's these little decisions. Why did you take half an hour more for your call and that kind of stuff? Or why didn't you tell me that you would come home late today or something? It's such trivial matters that we fight like crazy over. Big things in the world we are like very peaceful about.
Yeah.
The bigger challenges, I mean, it's important to stay on the same page. And I'm going to ask you a question that is, I think, going to be a special one, right? This is a question that I've been asking a lot of couples recently. How did a child change your marriage? How did having a child together change your relationship?
I'm actually going to answer that. I think for me, what happened is Berry is a lot like Karthik, personality-wise, and like I was saying, she needs a cuddle, she needs a hug when she feels like when she does something stupid. Like first thing she will do is she will cry and come and hug you because she wants to know that you still love her despite what she has done. And then, she's okay to deal with the consequences. So for me, watching her made me realize how he's actually like that. And I could never understand that before. He would say something really rude to me and then I would get angry. And because I'd get angry, he'd start feeling insecure and he'd be like, I need a hug. And I'd be like, what the fuck? I'm not giving you a hug. You said something so rude to me. Why would I hug you, right?
Yeah.
So watching her made me realize how he thinks and to just give a bit more space for who he is as a person in the relationship. And I think for me, that's how our relationship changed because of Berry. Not in any other way, I think. Yeah, not in any other way.
What would be your take on that?
See, Berry is the only person in the world I can fully empathize with.
That's about our relationship.
I know. I mean, what changes in Berry? Because I mean, that's one thing. She's the only person I can, or not fully empathize with. She's the only person in the world I can empathize with at all.
Yeah.
Okay, so because she's so much like me, and so how did it change our relationship? I think one thing it did was that over a period of time, at various stages, it increased the number of decisions we had to make. In another way, it's also that Berry was born, and a few months later, we three of us we moved to London for a couple of years, and we just lived by ourselves. Almost with no contact with the rest of humanity types. Of course, I'm exaggerating, but I think that also brought us sort of closer, and we sort of became closer as a couple and as a family during that
time. Got it. And how was that phase of your life? Having lived in Bangalore most of your lives, at least, and being thoroughbred Bangaloreans, living away for a couple of years, or even more than a couple of years. Where you, like you said, you don't know anybody. How did that shape your marriage, or did it shape your marriage? Were you a tighter unit together?
I think for me personally, I loved living in London because the culture of the place resonated with me a lot as a person. I like my space. I like not being bothered by anybody. I like minding my business and other people minding their business. I liked it a lot. I think that gave us a lot of time with each other, like he said. So I liked, in some sense, having that space and time to get closer to each other and build that bond, I think. Here I feel like there's a lot more interaction happening with other people constantly, right? Friends, family, etc. So there's very little time that we spend with each other, and we have to consciously make that time to spend with each other, which wasn't the case there. You didn't have a choice. There was nothing much to do unless to go out as a family together or whatever on the weekends, right?
Also, I must mention one more thing here, which is important. Before Berry was born, just before Berry was born, for 2 years we were long distance. Priyanka was doing her MBA in Barcelona, and I was living in Bangalore. So I think in that time we sort of like both our lifestyles sort of changed. So I sort of like got into this thing where I would go meet lots of people every other day. I would be going out with someone and I would go out like a lot. Had a lot of acquaintances here and things like that. So that was my lifestyle.
I think I had a similar lifestyle to his, where I was constantly like meeting people, going out with friends, etc. But I think I was always aware that this is a bubble. I didn't think of it as life. Like 2 years of college, I knew it was a bubble and that I'm not going to be meeting friends every day once I'm done with this, right? I think he didn't look at it that way for him. He was like, this is my life. Then it was like suddenly there's a child.
Suddenly there's a child. We are in London where I know like at max 10 other people. And you meet people there like once a year or something like that. So it was like a very different lifestyle, and like that sort of threw me off a little bit. So in that sense, finally, like I really wanted to come back because like I was like, at least I have my network here, and it is strange, right? I mean, like I don't really have any close family here, but like it is like I still wanted to be back in Bangalore in Jayanagar, living our old life types and.
Got it. Now, the next question I'm going to ask you is related to your independent lives that you led for a couple of years, right? Space in a marriage is very important, giving each other their space so that they can be themselves at the end of the day, right? How do you, living in the same home, give each other space, create that area, that bubble for yourselves? And how do you retain your personality even 12 years into the marriage? Your own unique personality.
Yeah, we have 3 rooms, one each for each resident of the house.
So we are sitting in her room now for the call.
In my room.
Okay.
So yeah, that way we have actual physical spaces that each of us can go off to and not be bothered by anybody. How are we able to maintain our personality?
Before I got married, I remember this happened about 6 months before I met her. I remember a bunch of my friends told me that I need to delete my blog. They said, you write such random stuff on your blog, no girl who reads it will ever want to date you, so you need to remove your blog if you want to get married. And then I found this person who found me through my blog and who would actually get angry with me that I wouldn't write enough about her. Right? It's like the biggest quirk I had was something that she actually came to like, which meant that there was absolutely no effort required from my end to sort of reveal who I was, right? Because I think she really liked me the way I was, and so it was peaceful for me.
I think the bit that I really like about being married is we both like each other for who we are, and I don't think we're constantly telling each other to be something that we are not. There are moments when we negotiate and push each other to do things that you don't necessarily like, but it's very temporary. It's never held against each other's personalities, saying, hey, you need to change this way as a person or whatever. So I think we respect each other, and we give that space for each of our like individual personalities, and I think that's what has helped us continue to be ourselves, I think.
Yeah.
I think this is a question I should have asked much earlier on in our conversation. It's a fairly heavy question to be asking towards the end, which is your ideologies, right? As a couple, do you have the same ideologies? I know you disagree on petty things, but there is a common belief that you need to agree on the bigger things, the larger aspects of life. So have you found yourselves believing in different things through your marriage? And how do you navigate around that?
I think we don't think alike at all. Our ideologies are very, very different in most aspects, whether it is to do with career, whether it's to do with money, lifestyle, parenting, social life. Everything is quite different. We're in a lot of ways quite diametrically opposite, but I think that's what makes it interesting, right? That's what kind of gives you perspective in life, because it's very easy to get stuck into the way you think and the way you do things. So when you get another person's perspective, even though it's really annoying at that point of time and you don't want to listen to that, it makes you think. It makes you think, and I think there is value in that.
What are some of the things that you all disagree on deeply?
I would say money is one of the things that we disagree on. Like, I'll give you a very simple example. I am somebody who saves first and then spends. Meaning, for me, the priority is to plan for a future risk event. For him, it's like, okay, today I have money, I'll eat it off. Okay, tomorrow we'll figure it out.
No. That's after buying insurance. That's after putting the money in the automatic SIP separately. After that, I'm like, if I want to go buy an expensive pair of shoes, I'll go buy it because it looks nice and it feels comfortable. I mean, like, I have no problem with that.
I think I am more responsible in terms of spending, and he not so much. I think
budgeting scares me. If I have to plan, the moment I start thinking about the prices of something I need to buy, I'm like, okay, I'm in trouble. I seriously need to do something about my life right now.
I am the kind of person who, so I used to manage Toyota's capital budget for India. I'm the kind of person who would get a 10%, expenditure cut target, but I would go back to them and give them 30%. Because I would have planned for everyone to actually save that much, but I would have given them a higher target. And for me, making sure that we manage in what we have has always been a thing. So I think because of that, we tend to kind of disagree a lot.
For me, that's scary though. I mean, as long as I see a positive bank balance, I think I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm not like that. I need to plan everything. I need to know everything. And
no, I think that sort of reflects who we are, right? Because I think I'm fundamentally chaotic. I'm fundamentally disorganized. I get scared by organization. It feels like it's constraints for me. So
I think the only way in which you've kind of been fairly organized is in just how we keep our home, right? I think he's been great at maintaining the house the way I have organized it. He doesn't mess it up. So I think that is a commendable thing.
No, that's because always in my life, for me, resurrecting my life has always started with cleaning my room. So
that's a great practice. And I know you got your house painted recently. Who picked the colors?
The painter suggested the color and we both agreed. I mean,
that was supposed to be a light question with a deeper meaning about who takes decisions, but great. Painter takes house decisions. Nice.
Nice. But clearly, we're not good at it. So
now, with that, it's time to wrap up this episode. Thank you so much for listening. This was another edition of Behind the Scenes for you.